Well, we want to welcome everyone to another episode of Good Company, our
Yep.
podcast. And I want to start by a song. All by
Oh my.
myself. Don't want to be all
All
by
by
myself
See,
anymore.
that's really good.
You want to know why I just sang that
I
beautiful
wonder
song?
why.
Because today we're talking about loneliness.
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 Womp, womp, womp. Actually, no.
Womp, womp, womp.
Womp, womp.
And loneliness today is brought to you by Pie Day
Pie
coming
Day,
up
you
soon.
guys.
So we have a couple
Whoa.
pies. So hold on, we have a key lime. We're all over the place already.
This has
Key
already
lime.
been the most chaotic start.
Let's try the key lime.
Shouldn't key lime be kept in the fridge?
Literally was just going to say that. I don't think this is what we call counter pie. We just saw this on the counter of Upper House where we record.
We have no idea whose pie this is when it was made.
No clue. And
Michael, I
That had
think
a-
that should have been kept in the fridge.
that had a curdled texture.
I'm
But
gonna
let's see if the apple pie is better.
I kind of have a strong gag reflex.
Not a fan of apple pie. Not a fan.
Not a fan of that key lime. You know what I am a
Key
fan
lime was curdled and I'm lactose intolerant. So let's see what happens this episode.
of? You know what I am a fan of?
What?
The crusty crust.
I love a crust. I also love the ice cream on a pie.
Oh.
So basically, I just like ice cream. So today is almost Pie Day as we record it. It's after as you're listening to it.
That's right.
I hope you didn't have key lime pie that was left out on a counter when it should have been
little
refrigerated.
spoiled.
A little, not like very spoiled,
Not obviously.
but a little
slightly.
spoiled, just curdled. But we were talking about loneliness today, and we're turning this corner.
It'll be
And-
hard.
Yeah, no, we got it. We're talking about loneliness today, just because loneliness is something that all of us, I think I can confidently
yeah.
say, all of us experience
Mhm.
in different seasons.
Yep.
For some of us, it's more common to experience loneliness. And loneliness also can have like a really big depth to it. Like some people can really experience loneliness.
I was just going to say, I do think like it also could be like a lot of people's personalities probably depend on how they experience loneliness. Like some
Mhm.
people I think are just okay with less people and they might not feel lonely as
Yeah.
often. And some people just feel loneliness to a deeper level.
The World Health Organization says that loneliness is a global public health concern.
Yeah.
It's big. There's another statistic. Ready? So loneliness, doctors say, is like it can be so bad for you physically
Mm.
that it's kind of like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day.
Hmm.
Loneliness
That's
can like
intense.
actually cause like early death. We're getting intense. We are
Whoa.
really far away from pie territory
We're
right now.
we have
We're
turned.
full curdled pie right
Yeah.
now.
Well, you know what? Can I give my honest reaction to that?
Yeah.
That gives me anxiety because to me, that puts so much pressure on the people who are currently lonely of like, oh my gosh, I need to fix this right now. Otherwise, I'm going to die.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like just because you smoke a cigarette doesn't mean you're doesn't mean you're gonna die right now.
But like,
it's
could you see the?
concerning for your health? It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what do you do? Sorry, we're just jumping in. When you feel like you can't control that you're lonely, like
So-
you've tried and you've
That's a
tried.
great question. Let's talk about loneliness.
Let's go.
Let's formally talk about loneliness. Hopefully, somewhere in our conversation, we will talk about what we do when we can't control it.
Yeah.
If we don't, then
Sorry,
we are sorry.
we will.
We probably will.
I hope.
Okay, so first, loneliness. I want to talk about what loneliness is because I know a lot of people feel lonely, and so that feeling can try to like, I don't know, you can be driven by like what
The
the feeling
feeling can
is.
say a lot more than the reality.
Yeah, so loneliness is defined as the feeling of being unseen,
Hmm.
unknown, or disconnected, even when you're surrounded by people. It doesn't have to be when you're surrounded by
Yeah,
people, but it
totally.
can be when you're surrounded by people. It's the gap between connection we desire and the connection we experience.
Mm.
Can I give an example of the biggest season of my loneliness?
Let's go there.
I just graduated college. I was 22. I actually turned 22 on the day of my graduation.
Aw.
Yeah. Also, I left all of my friends on my birthday because I moved on my
Why'd you
graduation.
move on your graduation? You should have planned like one more day.
Literally, I lived in the dorms and I had to be out.
You lived in the dorms by your senior
I didn't go
year?
to UW-Madison.
Sorry,
I was a transfer student. I wanted the experience. It was a small private liberal arts college,
And
Whitworth
so seniors lived in the
University.
dorms?
A lot of seniors didn't, but I wanted community.
Got it.
And as a transfer student, it's harder to create community, in my experience, when you float in the middle of everyone's 4-year experience, because people already had community for 2 years.
Totally.
So I became really close when I was a junior with the freshmen because that, and it was a small, like we had 2,000 people in my college.
Baby.
It was baby college.
Yeah.
Anyways, that would be lonely. That's not how I experienced loneliness. I went to Africa for 2 months for a mission trip. There was with the mission organization. There was 4 of us from my undergrad that went, and it was kind of tough. Everything was new and different for 2 months, but that's not where I experienced deep loneliness. I experienced deep loneliness 3 weeks after that because I sound really bougie right now. Sorry, guys, but I delayed my return trip in London and backpacked Europe for 3 weeks on like $1,000. I had no money. I was eating like literally gelato and baguettes.
A baguette. That's
which
my
was actually kind of awesome.
diet.
But here's the deal. After being gone for 2 months in Africa from everything I knew and was comfortable, and I was living in remote villages, like remote villages. I would have kids try to wipe like my skin off because they literally had never seen a white person before, and which was awesome. I think I think it's a good experience, like for majority culture people to experience what people living around you who might not look like you experience every day.
Yeah,
that's not how I felt lonely. I felt lonely like 2 weeks into my Europe experience because I traveled by myself.
Brave.
And I remember specifically seeing the Eiffel Tower. People are speaking French around me. And I was looking at the Eiffel Tower and I thought, wow, I couldn't be more lonely because I couldn't experience it with anyone else. It wasn't just a feeling. It was like a deep, like a deep
guttural like part of you.
Yeah. Like this pain that I experienced. It was very physical. And that was my first experience of loneliness, like really deep loneliness.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I think my first experience of pretty intense loneliness was my freshman year of college when I had just moved into the dorms. I didn't come in knowing anyone. Like a lot of people, I feel like go to college with some like people from your high school. You just have connections, at least at UW. A lot of people like, oh, this kid from my school came. I went to a really tiny, tiny high school. So no one from my high school went to UW-Madison. And I just remember looking out my window, my freshman year dorm, having like, I moved in on like a Wednesday. I had no plans for the weekend. I remember that was so scary to me. I had nothing to do. And I couldn't like call my mom to pick me up because it's like the first week of college. Also,
that's an adult's dream. No plans on the weekend.
Not a freshman
I'm gonna watch
college.
some TV.
Yeah, no, literally. Looking back, I should have. But I just remember looking out the window that weekend. It was beautiful out, UW-Madison, so fun. Big groups of people just walking in friend groups to go play beach volleyball or to go to dinner or to sit at the terrace, laughing, looking like they're all each other's best friends. And I remember thinking, I am so lonely right now. And like, I'll never have that. I'll never have a friend group. I'll never have what those people have. I'm behind. Everyone has their people already. There's no way I could meet people. And it's actually kind of depressing. But when you have a roommate, it's like embarrassing to cry in front of a brand new roommate. So I remember I got the keys to our basement music room where there was a piano. I just cried.
Wait, did you play all by myself and weep? No, you didn't.
No, I didn't. But I remember feeling so lonely and it feeling so overwhelming that I couldn't see it. Like I didn't want my brand new freshman year roommate to see me lose my mind. So it was just like, I just like that is seared into my brain of this moment of like this feeling of loneliness. It literally hurts, like pain hurts.
Yeah.
Like physical pain hurts. That's how bad I remember feeling lonely.
When I got back from Europe, I needed to get a job and figure my life out. And I needed a new car because on the drive home on my birthday, my car basically disintegrated and I needed a new car.
Yeah.
And I remember getting a car, and the most important a feature on that car. I've said this before in different contexts,
Mhm.
the story, but the most important feature was child seat anchors. Because 22-year-old Michael, like, I just graduated college.
I'm gonna
Like,
find my person.
I'm going to find my person. I'm going to have kids, and I need to be prepared for that.
Mm.
So they sold me. I got my 2008 Hyundai Elantra used car
Yeah.
with child seat anchors, but I didn't find anyone until I was 38 years old.
Mm.
And relational, like, loneliness you experience, um, when it comes to like relationships,
Yeah.
not just community, like friendships,
Yeah.
but the lack of dating someone or finding
Mhm.
someone, that hurts.
Oh my gosh.
And there's different seasons where, like, loneliness, again, it's these we experience loneliness. It's the gap between the connection we desire and the connection we experience.
Mhm.
I desired to be married and have kids. I wasn't experiencing that.
Yep.
In comes loneliness.
Yep. Yeah, I know for me, relational loneliness, and I've talked about this before on other episodes too, but I my most recent breakup, I don't know, it was like 6 months ago or something. I remember just feeling like, what do I do with my time? Like, I would dread weekends because
Yeah.
I didn't have any plans on the weekends, and like that just felt so scary to me. Like, I just wanted it to be the work week. So I had something to fill my time with. That and I'm still in that in different ways, but those first few months of just, like, having no one and it feels like everyone else has their people or
Yeah.
their person, I yeah, I just it's almost like, for me at least, loneliness looks like really when I'm feeling lonely, the last thing I wanna do is put myself out there or
Yep.
reach out to other
Because
people.
that rejection you can experience could be so much
So
more
much worse.
devastating.
And I just think, like, at least for me, when I'm super lonely and down, feeling down bad about it, I like go into more of like a depressive state where it's
Yeah.
like all I want to do is sleep. All I want to do is like hole up in my house. And like it's almost like what's the word? Like it makes it worse.
Yeah, yeah,
Like my
yeah.
reaction to loneliness is to pull away more. And
Mhm.
so I remember that those first few months, I just like could not put myself out there to be
Yeah.
around other people because of how lonely I felt.
Yeah. Yeah. Loneliness affects all of us in different
Yeah.
ways. And it's, again, it's like relationally based, which makes sense. I mean, let's talk about the Bible.
Yeah.
You know, the Bible says in Genesis 1:27, that we were created in the image of God,
Mm.
male and female. We were created in His image.
Yeah.
Who is God? God, Christian theology points to a triune God, Father, Son, and Spirit, living in complete unity and community together. So it's out of this like complete God, completely in three in one, knowing intimately so much. I mean, God is God, and He's community, and we are created out of that. And man was created, everything was good, like you know, the hills and valleys good, sea good, creatures good, human good. And then Adam was like, man, I'm lonely.
Mm.
I've seen all these animals, they have their pair, their partner. I don't have anyone.
Mm.
That was like the first not good thing.
Yeah.
And so Eve was created for Adam, and like the first marriage happened to where like humanity would now be united,
Mm.
deeply known in a very, very beautiful way. And then like man should not experience loneliness. Like
Yeah.
that was the answer to it.
Yep.
And so we experience loneliness when we feel, I mean, I'm not talking about marriage right now, but when we don't feel that connection to someone, there's a reason we feel loneliness because it's actually going against who we are created to be.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
But a couple things I want to just say for people experiencing loneliness, man, you're not strangers from different characters in the Bible, different people in the
Yeah.
Bible, because they're like two that I'll talk about really quick. David, he was the king of Israel, and he experienced some deep loneliness. David wrote a lot of Psalms, which are our worship texts. They're basically like worship songs or poetry, just as an encouragement for followers of God to express worship to God. And it's different than a lot of contemporary American worship songs,
Mhm.
which it's all about glory, praise, you're the best. A lot of these songs were deep, anguishing, crying out because I am experiencing different things like loneliness. David Psalm 142, verse 4, he got to the point where he was like, no one cares for my life. He was just, I mean, he's the king, though.
It's crazy. Talk
Also,
about being surrounded by people and being lonely.
yes.
Yeah.
And so, like, he experienced this, like, I'm around people, but, like, no one cares for me. I'm sure people did care for him, but we can still experience that. And Elijah, there was a moment where he, in 1 Kings 19, he just said, like, I am the only, like, godly person left. And then he was confronted with the reality. God reminds him, no, there's like 7,000 other people. You're not the only one. But loneliness also distorts reality.
Totally.
It distorts reality of what's going on. There's a ton of biblical examples. The last one I'll say, it happened to Jesus. So when Jesus, the night he was going to be crucified, after the Last Supper, he went with a couple of his disciples and he was like, hey, just stay awake and pray. I'm going to talk to God. And in that prayer that Jesus had, that talking to God, like he literally was like sweating blood. He was crying out. And he was like, man, not my will, but yours be done. I'll do it, but like take this cup from me. He went back to his disciples. The brothers were sleeping. And Jesus is like, you couldn't even stay awake.
Yeah.
And then when Jesus was on the cross, literally God's presence was taken from Jesus because he embodied humanity's sin, and God can't be in the presence of sin, which left Jesus to cry like, why have you forsaken me? Like, where are you? Jesus experienced loneliness.
Totally.
So loneliness isn't like a problem to solve. It's like this tension to manage that God himself experienced.
Yeah, that's so good. And I feel like, I don't know if this is any encouragement, but in some of my loneliest seasons, I feel like that is when I've drawn closest to God in different ways, because often people and relationships and different things can kind of fill our life so much that we lose that sense of desperation for God. And it's for encouragement for anyone who's experiencing loneliness, like, no, don't stay in it, and like take steps to like
Totally
grow and different things. But like, it's also okay to just like lean into like, okay, God, you say that you'll fulfill me and you'll be all I need. Like, let's put that to the test a little bit. And like at least in my experience, he's always shown up for me.
Yeah. Psalm 34 says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Yeah.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah. So Grace, for you, whenever you experience loneliness, what have you done? Like, what do you do? Like, what's a helpful practical things that people might consider if they're experiencing loneliness?
That's a great question. I feel like for me, just in like how I'm wired, often my thoughts are running wild in my head. I'm being told lies that aren't true about myself and different reasons why I'm experiencing loneliness. So if it's like from wanting like a romantic relationship, it'll be like, oh, you're unlovable, you're not attractive enough, Like, it'll be all these different lies will be in my head. And often if I keep those in my head and let them be in there, they'll be bigger and they distort reality. When it's like friendships, it might look like, man, you're just not fun to be around. People are leaving you. People have found other friends they like better than you. Like, those type of lies can stir in my head when I'm lonely. So my thing that I usually do is I journal, because often I don't know what it is scientifically, but there's something about getting things from here onto paper that they feel less big. They just do.
Totally.
So that's the first thing I'll say is just journal. Get those out of your head, put them on paper. Even if you sound crazy, there's so many journal entries where I'm like, girl was dramatic. Like,
but you needed to get it out of there because feelings can feel dramatic.
Yeah. And when you leave them in there and you don't put them anywhere,
dramatic things running you.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say first thing is just get them out of your head, get them on paper.
Yeah.
The second thing, if you have someone you can call, like for me, that's my mom usually. Like,
shout out Grace's mom. You're awesome.
She's the best. I always feel so much better after I just have a conversation and I'm just honest with where I'm at. I like, maybe I need to let out a few tears. Maybe I need to just totally process it. Maybe I just need to talk to someone just about their life and ask them questions so I can get out of my own head. But every single time after I call someone, even when it's kind of the last thing I want to do, I don't know why, but when I'm lonely, like reaching out to someone feels really hard, but I always feel better. I always feel more connected. So you just have that one person in your life who you can call and talk to.
Hmm.
That always helps me. And then lastly, like there are fun things you can do when you're alone. Like you can enjoy
Hmm.
your own company. I have been challenging myself recently, which is actually super awkward, but I've been doing it and it's been good. Of just like there's so many things that I would want to do, but because I'm alone, I think I can't do them. And that's where I even get more lonely. Like, oh, I want to go out to dinner, but no one's around. Just go.
Yeah.
I went to Ford's the other day at Hilldale Mall when it was nice out, sat there, got dinner by myself, and just people watched. And it honestly was such a lovely experience.
Yeah.
And I was so in my head that when I'm lonely or like when I'm alone, that I can't do anything fun because I want to share it with someone. But like, be your own best company. Like learn to love your own company, learn to have hobbies, things that you love that you don't need anyone else to experience.
That's so good.
What about you?
Yeah, I think like two things that I'll say. The first thing, I feel like, I mean, loneliness will come for different reasons for different people. I think that in an age where we're the most digitally connected
Mm,
through internet, through social media, we're also chronically the loneliest people. So, we are connected more than we ever have been, but we're lonelier than we ever have been, which leads me to say that I think like loneliness really comes from not really experiencing being known,
100%.
truly known
You can
by
be talking to
someone.
someone, but you can still not be known.
Yeah. And so I want to talk about that in two categories. The first category in your relationship with God.
Mm,
Uh, are you spending time with God? A lot of times, like you could say, like, yeah, I'm a follower of Jesus. Like, yeah, I pray. Yeah. Okay. But are you praying through little distracting scrolls on social media? Are you praying through like subscription commercial breaks on Netflix? Are you praying when you're walking or driving? Or are you carving out time to actually get to spend time with the relational God who created you and who knows you?
mm,
We can feel unknown by God because we're not putting in the time to get to know God.
yep,
So, what are we doing about it?
that's good.
We feel unknown. Well, are we letting God know us? I mean, He knows you. Are we getting to know Him?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's something that I want to challenge people to really consider. And it doesn't have to be, okay, I'm going home from school and I'm going to spend 5 hours talking to God. Carve out 5 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and just, hey, I'm going to be silent
Yep.
and I'm going to just be in your presence because I know you're here and you're real. You're everywhere and you love me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to sit in you.
Yeah, that's good.
Sometimes people often, this is kind of like a spiritual formation practice. People will light a candle that symbolizes the presence of God.
Oh, cool.
Because often in the Old Testament, the presence of God, especially like in Exodus, will
Yeah,
come
tabernacle. Yeah.
with fire.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. And so like that could be just like a good reminder, light a candle, be silent or pray and know the candle for me when I do that is a physical representation that I'm actually not alone.
Mm,
Like the presence of God is here. The second thing is how well are you known among different people? Like
mm,
are you really, really getting yourself out there? Now this is really, really difficult and really, really hard.
mm-hmm.
And I'll talk to people and I've been there so many times that experience loneliness and experience like a lack of that connection that they
Yeah.
hope for and they do try, but I want to tell you like you got to try hard.
Mm,
And you know I say this often, trying to get friends and build community whether you're new somewhere. And I mean people are going to be listening to this when summer break is coming and
yeah.
maybe people are graduating. You're going to have to like get yourself out there when it comes to community.
Yep.
It's like going on a lot of first dates.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
awkward.
and it's not that
Yeah.
you're being asked on these dates, but you got to do the asking, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I first moved to Madison, I was lonely. I literally had no one that I moved with.
Mm-hmm.
And I've talked about this in different like different situations before, but I saw this guy. He was really cool. I wanted to hang out with him. And he was like, yeah, we can do basketball, intramural basketball. That's the only time I have to hang out. I know I've said this story before, so I'll keep it short.
Yeah.
I am not good at basketball and I actually despise basketball, but I did it. And he's still one of my closest friends
Mhm.
8 years later. And he
Yeah.
moved to Florida. We
Yeah.
still keep in
Yeah, you
contact.
do.
I put in work for
Yep.
that. And it was hard work.
Yep.
But it was through that work that he was able to get to know me and I was able to get to know him.
Well, and I feel like too, like just with letting yourself be known, like so often when we're trying to make friends, we're trying to show the best version of ourselves, or we're trying to
Yeah.
like win people's approval or put on this like when you're lonely and you're looking for friends, it can be so easy to like really try to strive or prove yourself or put on this image. But then often like you didn't let those people know you. That's not really you.
Yep.
And so like how often are we which, gosh, I don't really do this that often, but, like, just thinking about it now, like, are we letting people into the vulnerable sides of us? Once
Yeah.
we share what we're struggling with, what God's doing in our lives, like sin that we're struggling with, all these different things, and then you share that with someone and someone receives you with love and care, man, how much more bonded do you feel to that person and closer? And, like, your relationship can go from, like, here to, like, here when you do that.
And that takes deciding who that community will
Totally.
be also, because like you got to have to be careful on who you're inviting in. They have to be
Mhm.
someone that you can really trust.
Mhm.
It's really interesting. So after Jesus died and rose again, the early church was formed in Acts, and they were Acts is the book that came right after the four Gospels. Luke is actually the first part. Like Luke and Acts are actually one book. Different like people split the books
Oh, I didn't
later.
know that.
Yep. So Acts 2, it describes like the early church believers sharing meals together. They shared everything together. They supported one another.
Mm.
Like, and that's why people would call followers of Jesus brothers and sisters, because they acted like an intimate family with God as their father, and they physically showed that by gathering and eating together. That was like what worship we go to church on Sundays and we
Yeah.
hear like a message proclaimed. The early church, they did meals together and they
Yeah.
did life together.
Mhm.
And it was intentional to say, to prove a huge point, that the church should be the last place that people experience loneliness.
It's so interesting too, because like I'm hearing that and I'm like, man, that sounds awesome. But to be honest, I feel like the culture in America we are in right now is like so hyper independent.
Yep.
Like that is just not normal. Like it's a very planned out thing. Hey, in 3 weeks, you want to grab dinner? Hey, we could grab coffee for this hour. Like doing life together, honestly, is super rare to find
Yep.
with people. And I wonder if that's just like our culture and society telling us like to be hyper independent in this way that that reality really isn't lived out by many people.
That's exactly it. I mean, the New Testament wasn't written in a hyper independent culture.
Right.
That's a later construct that
Right.
America is really living in and operating in. And that's why a lot of times at Blackhawk will say that the Bible wasn't written to us, but for us. It was written to people in a different
Mm.
culture, speaking different languages and all of that. And so with that though, since the Bible is written for us, since this idea of how the early church modeled what authentic, knowing each other, sharing meals and sharing life together community could look like for us today, what would it look like to embody that by taking one step?
Mm.
And if you're waiting for our culture to do that for you,
They won't. It
it's
won't.
not. That's
Yeah.
literally not how our culture is constructed. It's
Hmm.
in 3 weeks for one time. That's how I live my life,
Hmm.
generally, and
We'll
probably
see you
you
once a
too.
month, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's grab dinner again.
But what would it look like to take steps towards trying to be the early, like embody more of the early church family, share a meal, share your life culture?
Yeah.
I bet you if we do that, the world would look more and point more to Christian churches doing that and say like, whoa, how do I become a part of
Yeah.
that? Like I want that. But also to be in that, if you're fully known, you're also going to be called out on sin.
Yep.
Like, you're also gonna be called out on different things that aren't healthy for you or your family around. They want a clean house, you
Yep.
know?
And it's so interesting too of like, man, that's the church. Like as we're just moving to the idea of like what does the church look like in community? Also, there's going to be people who rub you the wrong way, and there's going to be people
Mhm.
who like you kind of don't click with. And but like the call of us as Christians is to do life as brothers and sisters with each other, even when like it's like I feel like we so often want to pick like I want this person and this person and this person in my life, and that's perfect. And but you're gonna like run into people who maybe like hurt you or bother you, and but we're all broken, and we're
Yeah.
all just trying to walk this life together. And I think, man, like the idea of doing life as Christians together is so exciting. But
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious, like, as you think about this topic, what is that like practically? What do you think is a step for people?
Yeah. I would say that loneliness comes with vulnerability.
Mhm.
If we are building armor around us to protect ourselves from being hurt, that which often will come from vulnerability, with lack of vulnerability comes loneliness.
Yeah.
So if you want to truly take a step towards not being lonely, I would say in your relationship with God, in your relationship with others, what would it look like to take one of those bits of armor off to be vulnerable?
Mm.
Maybe your vulnerability is asking someone to coffee, and then in that, in like an appropriate way, saying, "Hey, I'm actually looking for like authentic community and good friends, and there's something about your personality that just drew me to you.
Mm.
Would you be open to having coffee a couple times and getting to know each other?"
Yeah.
Like, be direct. When I talked to my friend in basketball, I was direct. I was direct. I'm like, I'm looking for friends. I think I literally
Yeah.
said, I said, you seem like a really cool guy that I would love to hang out and get to know with and become friends with. Can we do that? And,
Mhm.
and it's vulnerable for me, but also flattering for him to hear,
Totally.
like, wow, I'm the type of person that people want to, and it's his decision to respond if he wants to or not, given his whatever life.
Yeah.
So I would say take a step of vulnerability. Maybe you have friends, you're surrounded by friends, but you still feel lonely. Like a theologian philosopher, Soren Kierkegaard, he explained this moment where he was like the life of the party, but he couldn't have been lonelier.
Mm.
Like he would sling jokes, say all these things, and he just felt empty.
Mm.
If you feel similarly, if you have friends, if you have community, if you have roommates and you still feel loneliness, check your community. Are they the type of people that would be willing to embrace you and get to fully know you? And if it is, or if there's someone that is, what would it look like to take a step towards vulnerability?
Mm.
It feels like jumping off a cliff,
Yeah.
like it's scary.
Yeah.
But most of the time, if they're a great, like the trustworthy, good person and someone who's trying to follow Jesus, they'll catch you,
Oh, yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then with God, I think the same thing. Be vulnerable with God. If you have shame because of, let's say, a hidden sin you're doing, there's no hidden sin with God.
Mm.
God sees everything, but he sees you through Jesus. Therefore, he loves you and forgives you.
Mhm.
Be vulnerable with your sin.
Mhm.
Be vulnerable with your loneliness. If you feel like God is distant from you, be like be like David, be like Elijah and just say, "Hey, I feel like I'm the only one. I feel like you've left me."
Mhm.
That's literally what what worship from the Psalms is built off of, but
Right.
we've stripped it out of our worship today.
Totally, we have.
Now we're in a loneliness epidemic.
Mm.
And so what would it look like to be authentically vulnerable with the God who already knows you?
Mhm.
What would happen?
That's really good. I think when I think about like next steps and tangibles, I think of like a little different of a side of the coin of just like I've had such lonely seasons and I'm kind of like in a different one when it comes to relationships and different things, but just to know like it won't last forever.
Yep.
And like we can often feel so certain that we're going to feel this way forever. Our feelings tend to magnify and feel bigger than the reality and the truth. And like it's okay to have different seasons in life. And
Yep.
I think different seasons grow different things in you. So, like in a season where you feel really filled up by friendships and really known and seen and have great community, like, man, that's going to teach you so many things. In a different season when you're feeling really lonely and kind of isolated and like, man, I don't have many people. That's a great time to get to know yourself, get to know what
Yeah.
you love, get to know your hobbies, process different things with God. You have space. And sometimes space is the best thing you can do
Yeah.
to grow as a person. So, yes, loneliness isn't how we're created. And ultimately, we're not created to be lonely. And that shouldn't be season we try to stay in intentionally. But if you're finding yourself in that season, what are different perks you can
Yeah.
take out of it? Because I think there can be some.
And before we move on to the last thing that we love to do at the end of these podcasts, I just want to say if you're in a season where you are not experiencing loneliness, where you're, man, I'm doing pretty well.
Hmm.
Like I have my community, I'm doing well with God. Beyond your next step would be on the lookout for people who aren't, people who are lonely.
Yeah.
What would it look like to expand your friend circle? What
Yeah.
would it look like to help ease the burden of someone being vulnerable when they're already struggling with loneliness to invite? Hey, do you want
So
to go out to
good.
coffee? You
So
know,
good.
what would that look like? Because if you think that your circle is too full, and again, I'm not talking about inner circle, that we have to have just a few people who really know us, but your social circle,
Yep.
consider the early church. There wasn't a limit. If
Mm.
you believe in Jesus, your family.
Yeah.
Yet we hold other people at arm's length because it's inconvenient, because we're in a hyper individualistic culture.
So good.
The Bible couldn't be more opposite than that.
That's really good. I think that's such a good encouragement because if you're not experiencing loneliness, there might be a season where you have. And so you would be so grateful for someone to do that for
Yeah.
you. So, okay. With that, should we transition?
Game time.
Game time. Ooh.
All with other people. Nope. I tried to do that all by
Change the-
myself,
yeah,
change
yeah.
the lyrics. Didn't work.
Okay.
It was like it kind of worked,
It did
but
it.
it didn't. It was a curdled key lime pie. That's what we just
I
experienced.
can smell it over next to me, and it honestly, I thought about picking
There's
it
still
up.
a film in my mouth.
Stop. Okay. Okay. This is Would You Rather. Kind of loneliness edition, kind of not. Whatever. It's kind of similar. Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Gut reaction.
Gut reaction.
Okay. Would you rather cry to sad music alone in your car or accidentally cry in front of all your friends?
I love a good cry.
In the car,
My gut's in the car.
for sure.
In the car. Yeah.
I actually think a good cry alone, sad music
Yeah.
is healing.
Okay, so I don't know if this ever happens to you. I'm a bottler. I know I bottle different things. I live my life on my sleeve, but
Yeah, you totally do.
but if my feelings will get in the way of something, I bottle it.
Mm.
And then I'll watch an episode of just TV or something like that, like a comedy.
Yeah.
And the smallest interaction will happen and the bottle's broken and I'm like,
You're like,
weeping.
I'm over the edge.
And Cassie comes in. Oh my gosh, are you okay? Yeah, it's just like, it's not about The Office, but it's something else. Just weeping.
Yeah, you should unbottle that.
I like the experience of just a bottled up cry.
Like an explosion.
Yeah, I know
Okay.
what I'm doing.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, you'll like this one.
Okay.
Would you rather, when you're lonely, comfort show or comfort snack?
Show, 100%.
I knew you were going to say that.
I'm not a snacky person.
Honestly, I think comfort show with a fun bevy.
Yeah, mine's
I-
plain sparkling water.
But you know what I like? When
I'm not a snacky
yeah.
person.
When you're like watching a show and you're like leaning in, you're like, whatever, I'm alone tonight. Like, you need something else in the I need something else.
Grace, you know my shows that I'm watching.
Yeah, I do.
Cassie and I,
Lincoln
we just
Lawyer.
finished Lincoln Lawyer. Can't wait till it comes out. They haven't even filmed it. I am all about Stumble right now.
What?
Stumble, the show,
What's that?
Peacock.
Oh, yeah.
I've told you.
Cheerleaders.
Literally, I cry from laughing so much.
I need to
That's
watch
my
it.
comfort show.
That's your comfort show.
It's a community college cheerleaders trying to make it big.
I love that. My comfort show is New Girl, so
Yes.
if anyone needs that. Okay. Would you rather sit alone at a coffee shop for 3 hours or have to make awkward small talk with strangers the whole 3 hours?
I'm an awkward small talk guy.
You like that?
I have to be in the mood, but
3 hours of small talk.
that's literally my job though.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's every Sunday. It's not awkward though. I like
You're
it.
calling all those
It's-
conversations awkward small
No,
talk?
sorry. That's bad. That sounds really bad. Not awkward small talk, but small talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like small talk. I'm like, if we can't go deep, what are we doing?
Is this the time that I say that I'm actually deeply afraid of being alone for a long period of time?
Are you?
Not like deeply afraid in a bad way,
How, Michael?
but
Are you
I
being
would-
serious?
I would rather be with someone for 3 hours than by myself in a coffee shop.
Well, same.
Yeah.
It's the awkward small talk that matters.
I don't care about the awkward part.
You just want to be near someone,
Yeah.
even if you don't like them.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, yeah.
I don't think that's true.
I don't know. What's true?
I think you'd rather be alone than with someone.
Rather
that you-
alone. Yeah, the older I get, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. You just need Ollie.
Oh, duh.
Duh.
My dog Ollie. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That was a weird answer. I went a weird way,
You
but
went
that's
a
okay.
weird-
We can go on to the next
It's fine.
one.
It's fine. Okay. Would you rather accidentally overshare with someone you just met or say almost nothing to someone you just met and it's super awkward?
I do number one at every encounter.
So do I.
too. Hi, my name's Michael. Yeah, yesterday, like my stomach wasn't feeling that well, and I used the bathroom like way too much.
I need to take Lactate every day. You too overshare. So that you'd rather.
I think oversharing is one of my personality traits.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Say that.
Yeah, so that.
I'd rather overshare.
Last one. Would you rather wave at someone who wasn't waving at you? Just happened to me today. I kid you not. I was okay.
Hold on, wait. Explain the situation before you go to the
I was walking here in Upper House, and I saw this girl, and she was like, I think in like a little like discipleship meeting with someone, and like we know of each other, and she kept putting her hand up, and I think she was just talking with her hands, but I thought she was waving to me, so I'm like, and then she went.
She like kind of
she was
put
like,
her hand up.
Yeah. She was like, I wasn't waving to you. Anyways, it was horrible. I literally, it was horrible.
Okay, so would I rather do?
So would you rather that?
Can we call it pull a grace?
Pull a grace.
Okay.
Or ignore someone who is waving at you.
I will never ignore someone waving at me.
And that was my fear. I was like, if she's waving at me, how dare I not wave back?
I'm in the social extroverted nature of who I am, how God knit me together in my mother's womb.
That's
sounded weird, but whatever.
No, it's the words.
I would like the last thing my personality would
not
do
wave at someone.
Would let a waving hand go stale in the air.
And you know what that means? We're gonna wave at some people who weren't waving at us.
We're gonna wave at people who won't. Yeah,
and that's just the price we pay.
Yeah, and then you come on a podcast and you share it with. I think we have 1 million followers. With 1 million,
I think like a trillion follows.
1 trillion follows. Wow.
Wow. Okay, that's all I have.
Yeah.
So, anyways, loneliness. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week with another juicy episode.
That's right, with good company.
All right.
All right.
Take
see
care.
ya.
Eat some pie.
That's right.